Okay, getting back to this income tax initiative, why not just an income tax?
Because an income tax has been the third rail in Washington politics, just as Oregon for years refused to even consider sales taxes and tax increases. So what you do is you try to finesse it by, first of all, putting the income tax on the rich, then offering relief from property taxes and relief from the B&O tax for small businesses. Gates Sr. is unveiling the initiative now that it's on the ballot in the company of small business owners. So it is tailored to make it the one kind of proposal that could conceivably win public support.
I think in order to do what you're proposing, which I don't think would be a bad idea on its face, you'd have to roll back sales tax in the state. I mean, that's the most regressive tax humanly possible, you know, and we're probably too far gone there.
Do you think that the readers of the Weekly would support, a blanket income tax if sales tax were reduced?
Yeah, I do, and I think our readers, generally speaking, would support the initiative we're talking about here. The problem is, you're in an environment where people see tax on the ballot and they say no. Yeah. So I'm not at all confident that that initiative will pass.
There's another series of initiatives. I guess none of them will get on the ballot, but they relate to teaching the Declaration of Independence and other things like that. I think Christopher Bass is the one whose name is on most of those. Why do people file those things?
I think they have an idea, and if they have millions of dollars, they can pay people to put the idea on the ballot. And if they have many more millions of ideas and they are an entrenched special interest, they can spend money to defeat it. And so it was essentially a populist device developed in California to unleash to loosen the lock that the railroads had on the state legislature, has now become a situation, for instance, where the trial lawyers and the insurers slugged it out here over a couple of initiatives about 3 or 4 years ago, with each side spending more than $10 million, and the voters having good sense to reject both.
It's gotten crazy for sure, but I mean, I can understand kind of where it comes from. I mean, our state leaders and especially our city leaders have a tendency to kick decisions to voters in the first place, and I understand the frustration with that.
Well, maybe that's it. That we lack leadership. I've been kicking around in my brain for a couple of years. Which is weirder? Which brings out the weirdness more of people? Is it the circus? Or is it the elections? And Joel, you wrote a column about it. It says, if extremes rule, elections become interest group hell. Let's go to the first quote. Downtown Seattle liberal activist of the Metropolitan Democratic Club last week pondered whether to endorse centrist Democratic Senator Eric Omega of the 45th District. Eric is a little strange and kooky, said Karen Cooper, longtime executive director of NARAL, the pro-choice group of Washington. But he's our kook, responded Julian Weaver, a longtime activist. She noted that Omeg sponsored a resolution dissenting from President Bush's invasion of Iraq. I mean, he's an incumbent senator. Why wouldn't their own Democratic...
Because these people believe that they can use the endorsement process to further and advance and even impose their ideas on candidates running under their banner. So you have essentially a party line. You've had the absurdity in recent days of the 43rd District not being able to endorse Senator Patty Murray according to the rules because she hadn't filled out their questionnaire. And out in the 46th District, when the motion was made to endorse Murray and Jay Inslee, 2 Democratic members of our congressional delegation, objection was raised because neither of them had filled out the questionnaire. You have sets of rules before these, particularly Democratic district organizations, that you swear were written by a committee of 5 bores and a sadist. The endorsement process out at the 34th District in West Seattle last year for municipal races started at 8:30 in the evening and ended just shy of 1 o'clock in the morning.
I've made this point once before, but the people who are actively involved in those caucuses and precincts, God bless them, are people that lost big in 8th grade student council races and have been getting back at everyone since.
Well, let's go to Utah, because in Utah, an estimated 3,500 Republicans attending caucuses and a party convention denied a place on the primary ballot to incumbent Republican Senator Robert Bennett. The senator sinned by co-sponsoring a health care bill with Democratic Senator Ron Wyden, and this is actually points to a big problem that people in government don't seem to get along. Even, former Senator Robert Byrd, who recently passed away, he seemed to get along with people on the other side of the aisle.
Bipartisanship is decidedly out of style right now, with both frustration on the left with Obama's continued commitment to it, or supposed commitment to it, and with the emergence of the Tea Party. I mean, that's just all it is. Bipartisanship was all the rage just a couple of years ago. Now it's out.
The Columbia...
a couple of years ago when Bush was president, right?
Yeah, well, when Obama was running too. Yeah,
Okay.
really.
The Columbia County, South Carolina Republican Party has censured U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham for the fact that he was attempting to negotiate a climate bill with independent colleague Joe Lieberman and Democratic colleague John Kerry. You had a very reasonable centrist proposal by the senator from Utah and the senator from Oregon that caused party activists to deny him a place on the ballot. And you also have increasingly kooky ideas like something I wrote about this week. The state convention of the Idaho Republican Party called for repeal of the 17th Amendment. They don't want popular election of U.S. senators anymore. And they also called upon the governor and the legislature to nullify any federal law that contradicts the Constitution in their views. So essentially, these people are off, but they're running.
Yeah, well, here's something else that you talked about in that article about the Idaho GOP. They said that greenbacks were frowned upon, and this was quoting from the platform. Let free Idahoans pay taxes and other fees due to the state, county, and city in silver and or gold in any form. Payments to city, county, or state employees requested to be paid in silver and or gold will be complied with, said the platform. What is that all about?
Hey, come on, gold is hot right now. It's a safe investment.
Oh, it is?
It helps put Glenn back on the air.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Go easy on him.
Well, so basically, do things like this just tell you that the parties themselves should be ignored and the candidates are the ones who are the important part of an election?
It is interesting because the largest group of voters in the state of Washington at the moment are self-described independents, while you have the party of people at the extremes attempting to drive the races in their direction. Sometimes independent voters have to exercise independent judgment. And the whole purpose of the darn column was to urge people to, now that you get the ballot in the mail, spend an hour or an hour and a half reading up and making your own decisions. You're not going to be caught with some stuff that you don't know about in the voting booth anymore. But devote an hour to your democracy.
Mike, you've been in and around politics for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
If you were wanting to run for office and you're either a Republican or a Democrat in this state, would you even want the party's support?
I think I would, but I wouldn't want it at the expense of my own values. I mean, I would want to be a candidate if it were me, decidedly more liberal, but like John McCain was back in 2000. He really didn't cow to any special interests, and that's missing largely from politics today.
And now he's a pander bear in order to
That's
get
right,
Republican
pander bear.
votes to
Yeah,
get
that's right.
renominated.
We're going to take another break. We're very fortunate to have Joel Connelly, SeattlePI.com, Mike Seely of the Seattle Weekly with us once a month, and this month here it's already July the 1st. I am just amazed that it is so far gone in the year, and we're talking elections and a lot more. Really, actually, very soon we're going to be talking about rapid transit, so to speak, here in Seattle. Go to their website, SeattlePI.com, SeattleWeekly.com, and you can see this again on YouTube, Public Exposure Scan. We're going to